I'm John Kraft. It's Kirk Allen. We're Edgar County Watchdogs. I'm going to discuss the lawsuit that Breuder put on the College of DuPage after his termination and some of the trustees. And we're going to kind of try to hit every point and key subject areas. The first subject area is the claim that Hamilton maliciously tarnished Breuder's professional reputation and acted to interfere in his contractual and constitutional rights solely for personal interests and political aspirations. One statement of that was, since early 2014, Hamilton engaged in a malicious and wrongful scheme to tarnish Dr. Breuder's professional reputation and ultimately to interfere with and deprive Breuder of his contractual and constitutional rights. That scheme has been motivated not by defendant Hamilton's official duties as an elected member of the board, but rather by her personal interest and political agenda. What do you say to that?
Well, it sounds interesting. I don't know of anybody that would believe Breuder's own actions are not responsible for the tarnishing of his professional reputation that ultimately led to his termination and possible criminal charges. As far as losing his constitutional rights, we can only ask, what about the rights of the taxpayers?
Well, those don't matter.
Yeah, that's evident in reading through this. Motivation is a tough nut to crack. However, an elected official has a duty to protect the taxpayer, not a public employee that has fleeced the public body they serve under.
So yeah, he would have to prove that his statement here was solely for personal interest and political agenda and having nothing to do with their elected position. The next one was that Hamilton was elected to serve as a member of the board in April 2013. Prior to that, she never held any office, nor had any ties to college, but once she got elected, her motivation for running for the board was to use the petition to attain higher political office. That's his claim. And he says that she stated she planned to achieve the goal by finding something wrong with the college, specifically by using her purported experience as a CPA to find irregularities in the college's finances and spending. That's his claim of what she told him.
I think she found that, didn't she?
Well, yeah.
Tons of irregularities in the finances. That how that's going to change a future political career is kind of irrelevant. The fact is, she did exactly what she told the voters she was going to do.
Exactly. And the next one was she claimed, or he claimed, through late 2013 and today, or before she resigned, Hamilton worked closely with her political advisor, Chris Roebling, to develop a strategy to advance her interests, her personal interests and political agenda, which led to posturing Hamilton as a reformist of the college and discrediting and slandering the former board and college administration, especially Breuder, through false claims of unprofessional, unethical conduct, mismanagement, fraudulent, and abusive spending practices. And I believe that's all I can prove to be true.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any doubt on that one. That's pretty straightforward.
You go to the next one.
All right, next one on here. In or about May 2014, Hamilton partnered with political watchdog organizations for the good of Illinois, founded by Adam Andrzejewski, and devised a plan to use for the good of Illinois to publicly discredit the professional and ethical conduct of the former board and college administration.
Well, number one, you'd have to prove that. Number two, I do not believe she partnered with anybody, nor for the good of Illinois partnered with anybody, or Adam Andrzejewski partnered with anybody to do that to the college.
Well, heck, if for the good of Illinois were to partner with somebody, wouldn't that jeopardize their 501c3 status?
Yes, it would.
Yeah, interesting though, they didn't think about that in their claim.
The next one's about the supposed confidential and privileged email. That was obtained through FOIA, but Breuder thinks it was handed out ahead of time, even though his Freedom of Information Act officer sent Adam Andrzejewski the email that related to the potential use of $20 million grant, and that Hamilton knew or had been advised the contents of the email would be sensationalized in a manner to tarnish the professional and ethical credit of Dr. Breuder and the former board.
There we are again. It's everybody else's fault that his professional and ethical credibility is tarnished.
He typed it up.
I think the email does a pretty good job of it. I mean, even former Governor Quinn pulled the money because it was just absolutely ridiculous.
So, next is yours.
Okay, number 37 in this lawsuit. After receiving information about the May 9th email for defendant Hamilton, Angieski issued a Freedom of Information Act request to the college. Angieski FOIA request saw all of Breuder's email communications dated from May 6th to May 19th, 2014. No other documentation was sought by Angieski's FOIA request.
So he's complaining Adam didn't ask for enough information. So he goes on TV and claims that we cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then in the lawsuit he claims he's upset that more information wasn't FOIA.
I'm not sure what his point is here. I mean,
That appears as what he no other documentation was sought. So he's obviously upset that they didn't ask for all of his emails for the last 5 years.
well, we've asked for a bunch of emails, and we'll cover that shortly because we've got a lot of them that he didn't give us that we now have.
On May 22, Hamilton invited Angieski to speak at that day's regular meeting of the board.
This is a good one.
During the meeting, Angieski publicly attacked Breuder's credibility and ethical fulfillment of his duties as the president of the college. At the close of his remarks, Angieski stated, "I challenge Dr. Breuder, please leave and do something good for the people of Illinois." On information and belief, Breuder thinks Hamilton knew of, agreed to, and spoke with Angieski regarding his comments prior to the meeting.
It really makes you wonder who their attorney is on this one. First off, all speech during a public meeting is protected speech. But it amazes me the attorney for Breuder made this claim when the fact of the matter, no such thing ever happened at that meeting. Not even remotely close. But don't take my word for it. Just watch the video.
And Dr. Breuder can lead on this. Leaders lead. And he should cut his compensation. And those resources should be allocated into the classroom on behalf of the students. So I challenge Dr. Breuder. Please lead and do something good for the people of Illinois. Thank you. And DuPage County.
Okay, video's up.
Quote, I challenge Dr. Breuder, please lead, L-E-A-D. I challenge Dr. Breuder, please lead and do something good for the people of Illinois. How could a law firm miss that? All you had to do is watch a video.
It's not what they wanted to hear, that's why.
Yeah. Now the next one. On or about June 24th, 14, Angieski received a copy of the May 9 email. Boy, that email really has him riled up.
Through his FOIA request.
Through a FOIA request. Angieski immediately sent the email to the Chicago Tribune and also published the email for the Good of Illinois website. The email was sensationalized as evidence of corruption within the college and a seedy money grab on the part of Dr. Breuder. On information and belief, defendant Hamilton knew of, agreed to, or participated directly in Angieski's distribution and publication of the email.
Well, how can he prove she knew of, agreed to, and participated? And
Well, let's say she did.
what's wrong with that? She's a private person, and she's an elected official. She can give anybody any piece of documentation for any reason, good or bad. He just upset his feelings, got hurt, and stripped the $20 million.
He got exposed. Now the next one. On or around June 26, 2014, defendant Hamilton invited Angieski to speak at the day's special meeting of the board. Here we go again. He's going to complain about somebody talking at a meeting. During his public comments, Angieski impugned Dr. Breuder and the former board for the contents of the May 9 email, describing Dr. Breuder's statement in this email as disgusting and a concocted scheme to secure funding. Angieski further stated, "We know our culture of corruption. This email spells it out, and Dr. Breuder spells it out to you. On information and belief defendant Hamilton knew of, agreed to, and spoke with Andrzejewski regarding his comment prior to the meeting.
There's nothing wrong with that either. Nothing wrong with any of that. Once again, they're all protected speech, public comments. Hamilton knowing, even if she did or didn't, even if she wrote the statements for him, it wouldn't matter. Not saying that she wrote it for him. Well, you know, listen, watch the video.
Watch video, yeah.
I filed a Freedom of Information Act request because I knew that the governor was coming to your commencement. And I filed that with President Robert Breuder, and I asked for 2 weeks of his emails before that event occurred. And this is what I found. And you know what I found because he emailed each one of you as a group on this board. And this email is pretty striking. Here's what it says. It starts out with, I have a quandary. You see, he needed a construction project from you. He thinks it's his money, our $20 million that he's trying to get out of the Quinn administration. And he told you what his strategy was to get this money. It's a political strategy. He said, and he put political pressure on you, that a political moon is rising, and now it's the time to ask the governor. And he said that he was going to put you and the governor on the spot, and he laid out his strategy at the commencement address. Quote, when I introduce Governor Quinn at the commencement, I want to help our cause, getting $20 million released sooner rather than later by thanking him for his commitment in front of 3,500 people. Then he put more political pressure on you. He said there are many voters in our district, and he added more political pressure, and he said, please keep November 4th in mind. And then he said, I need room to breathe on this. And in later emails, you found out that it was a $50 million project. And I think it's disgusting. Rarely do we get a peek behind the curtain in this state. We know our culture of corruption. This email spells it out, and he spelled it out to you. And so we know also that a fish rots from the head down. And you've got 2 questions in front of you tonight. And here's the first one. Are you going to vote down on a rush, politically pressured, potentially pay-to-play situation with the governor? Are you going to vote that project down? And the second thing is, I have a question for you. Is the board going to let Dr. Breuder continue as president while he concocts these schemes to secure funding that he admits he doesn't need? He would have even banked the money if you didn't give him a project, through projects that are unplanned in exchange for a vague and unfulfillable promise to deliver votes for Governor Quinn. That's your challenge and my question. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, on to the next one. Defendant Hamilton thereafter capitalized upon the distortion of the May 9 email as a means of furthering her personal interest and political agenda. Starting in July of 14, defendant Hamilton began participating in interviews and providing commentary to various media outlets, including the Chicago Tribune, the Daily Herald, and that they were focused on wrongfully discrediting the former board and Dr. Breuder's professional and ethical administration of the college.
Yeah.
Kind of implies that he had professional and ethical conduct.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it so.
He's complaining about what somebody else writes, apparently. Okay, on to the next heading. It would be,
That'd be 42.
On July 10, Hamilton penned an op-ed that harshly criticized the former board, Dr. Breuder, regarding issues underlying the May 9 email. There's a lot of issues with that May 9 email.
Well, it sure is.
He shouldn't have wrote it, that's bottom line. So now he keeps complaining about what people are saying about what he wrote. Bottom line is, she is a citizen of the United States and she exercises her First Amendment rights. Doesn't matter what else the email said. Number 43, Hamilton participated in radio interviews with Andrzejewski on the Joe Walsh Show to discuss the May 9 email and other events at the college. During that interview, Andrzejewski made several statements that falsely implicated Breuder with corruption, fraud, and abusive mismanagement of the college. Well, trying to get a copy of that podcast.
We've listened to it, but what we listen to doesn't support their claim, but once we get a copy of the podcast, we'll publish it. Next one, December 2014, Hamilton provided comment for an editorial penned by Angieski and published in the Huffington Post. In the editorial, Angieski quoted defendant Hamilton, quote, "Thanks to the professors, College of DuPage is one of the nation's top community colleges, but the lack of administrative executive ethics has been troubling. Ethical business practices haven't been part of COD governance for a very long time. Therefore, all the groups are helping to squeeze out corrupt practices. Defendant Hamilton," end quote. Defendant Hamilton's comments were directed at Dr. Breuder.
Really? So now every time somebody says something, it's about him.
Right. Now, notice they didn't say it wasn't true. They just said it was directed at
Yeah,
Breuder.
you're right, he didn't say it wasn't true on that one.
Yeah.
That's funny. The next one, he talks about Hamilton publicly stating in January that the January 2015 agreement reached between the board and Breuder constituted a golden parachute and wanton betrayal of DuPage County constituents, and that the college should show Breuder the door. He said Hamilton's comments were coupled by baseless accusations of improprieties and mismanagement by Breuder, including groundless allegations that Breuder committed fraudulent and criminal activity to occur at the college. He's saying that's just another example of her political gamesmanship, and the comments were made despite her earlier approval of the agreement during closed meetings of the board. So,
I don't recall that she agreed with that in the closed session. She was pleased that the dollar figure was lower, but she didn't have anything kind to say about him at all.
you do 46.
All right, the next one, January 28th, 2015, defendant Hamilton participated in a, here we go, television interview in Chicago Tonight. During the interview, Hamilton stated that Dr. Breuder should be outright fired. Defendant Hamilton supported her opinion by improperly implicating Breuder in unprofessional and unethical conduct. Hamilton even attacked Breuder's personal character, falsely describing Breuder as intimidating and being very cruel to people in a very unacceptable way.
That's another First Amendment example. So he wants to violate her rights to voice her opinion. And if you look at all the facts that have come out in the last year, Breuder did act unprofessionally in unethical conduct in almost everybody's opinion. And one example is wiping his iPad. When he knew he had to turn it over, he knew he was supposed to keep it as public records for part of a subpoena, and he decides to electronically clean it.
Well, let's not forget all the taxpayer money on booze, hunt clubs, and food for himself.
Yeah, that's right.
That would be unprofessional and unethical conduct, in my opinion. All right, 47. Following the events of January 2015, Hamilton made it her mission to claw back Breuder's January 2015 agreement, and he claims wrongfully terminated his employment through any means possible. Hamilton's resolve to terminate Breuder by any means can be summed up by a quote published by the Daily Herald. There we are with the Daily Herald again.
Yeah.
Their go-to group of people for getting their message out. Asked about the possibility that an attempt to oust Robert Breuder without pay could provoke a lawsuit that entwines the college in expensive litigation, Hamilton said, "Let him sue us." Defendant Hamilton also been reported as having a vendetta against Breuder based on his actions in opposing a board-approved censure of defendant Hamilton on the board's website in mid-14.
So he can exercise his right, well, it's not really a right, in posting a censure that has no constitutional statutory basis.
Right. He can do that, but she can't talk to...
And he can do that on public equipment, but she can't talk to reporters as an individual with a First Amendment right. That's funny.
Well, he says it's a vendetta against him, so would the lawsuit be a vendetta against Hamilton?
Yeah. From late January 2015 through Dr. Breuder's, he says wrongful termination, but those are his words. Hamilton pursued her mission by continuing to publicly impugn and discredit Breuder's professional and ethical reputation. Yeah, I don't think, she didn't need any help doing that.
I think he did a fine job all on his own.
Yeah, and a lot of it talks about comments made during public meetings and recorded and published on the board's website and through other external media outlets. There's lots of criminal investigations going on that will probably end up, when it's over, prove that everything she said was correct.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt of that, so there's a whole lot to go through on this, and we'll bring in additional updates as we can and time permits. And for now, I'm Kirk Allen with the Edgar County Watchdogs.
John Kraft.
Have a good one.